Well, hello folks. I'm about to do another bleeding shad video. I hope you enjoyed the fishing video I made with the first bloody shad. Today it's going to look a little bit different. And I'm going to go through the steps with you and show you what I've done. It's a little heavier than it was. I'm not worried about how fluffy it is because it goes out to nothing to a tail, but I have a little bit of glistening in there, a little more red, but I've used some different materials. So I'm going to go through this and show you what I have done. First of all, I'm still using a wet nymph hook, a number 10, and I started to go with a larger hook with a streamer hook, but I thought, well, let's not make it too big to start off with. So there is the hook that I'm using in this for this application. I hope that light doesn't bother you folks. I need it to be able to see a little better, so I hope it doesn't brighten things or make it too we'll see how it turns out. I'm going to put it on the internet anyway for you on YouTube. Hey, I want to encourage you. Would you please subscribe, and would you invite your friends to watch my videos? And let's see how many folks we can get enjoying making the jigs and doing the fishing. It's been a little hot, so I haven't been out on the boat, but I promise you, I'm going to get there. I'm going to go ahead and cut the eyes first of all. And what I'm using, I was looking for it. What I'm using is white nylon dubbing. And I took a chunk of this and I split it in half to make a little more. Now that's just about as long as my finger, and I'm going to cut that in half, and I'll show you why. Instead of using the feather that I used or the elk hair, I'm going to take that, I'm going to cut that in half, and I'm also going to take and get my red embroidery yarn cut, get it ready to go. I know about how long I want, about almost roughly the same length. So we'll cut that. And then there should be, I think there's like 6 strands of this, 4 to 6. But I'm going to take it, I'm going to half it. I could have already done all of this, but that's part of the making to me. So there's half of it for that side, and there's half of it for this side. I'm using black thread. I'm going to use this. It's matte mono F11. It's very fine. I'll pull a string out here because I'm going to be using a strand of it. This is kind of hard to mess with sometimes because it wants to all come out or it wants to all come undone. I had some other color that was more of a silverish gold, and not being careful with it over time. But there, I don't know if that's showing up or not, but there's 2 strands of it, I think. Or no, it's just 1 strand that's curled. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this strand, try to get the kinks out of it, straighten it a little bit, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to start cutting it in lengths about the same length as what my yarn is, roughly. Now, it's not critical. A little longer would be okay. I can always trim it if I think it's too long. If it streams out the tail a little bit, that's not going to hurt either, because that'll just give it maybe something that'll catch their eye and cause them maybe to come back. But I'll have about 4 or 5 pieces of this, and the reason I'm doing so much, part of this is going to be tied on the bottom and the hook, and part of it's going to be tied on the top of the hook. So we're going to call that good. I will take care of that later. So first thing first, I'm using 15 thousandths lead wire. And what I'm going to do with that lead wire is I'm going to wrap the hook. I couldn't get the other bleeding shad, or I called it the bloody shad in the video, and but I couldn't get it to go down fast enough, and I didn't like what I had to do because it wanted to float, but I wanted to get down where the fish were. And I've added, if you watched that other video, if you haven't, go back and see it. But I took and put a split shot right above my loop knot, right above the jig, just so I could get the jig to sink a little bit. The eyes were not quite heavy enough, so I'm wrapping probably 3 inches. I'm going to put, it's kind of maybe overkill, but I wrapped it all the way up and then all the way back down the hook. I'm doing this hopefully to make a, and I don't know, I may take this after I get it all made and put it on my little scales just to see how much it does weigh, if it's a 32nd of an ounce or a 64. I just want it to be able to suspend or to sink to get down to the fish's level. So now after I wrap that, I'm going to come back both directions several times with my thread, with my black thread, and cover that lead good, because I want it to be hidden, if you will. I don't think they could identify what it was, but I wanted the white. A little bit of the gray lead wouldn't hurt. That would give it maybe the silver color of the shad a little bit. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to leave that like that. I'm going to leave a little bit of it showing. I don't know how it's going to turn out. On the one that I just showed you, on this one, I covered it real good. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take a strand of that red and I'm going to put it on top of one piece of that white nylon dubbing, and I'm going to take another couple of pieces and I'm going to put it maybe on the, what I hope turns out to be the underside of it. That way some of it will be exposed, some of it will be inside the against the hook, and hopefully it shows up throughout both directions, all around it, you know, blended throughout the jig. So I'll put that together. Then I'm going to take a couple pieces of that tinsel. As I go, it's kind of funny how terminology comes to you. Maybe I should write a script and just read it, but to me that would be harder to do than just ad-libbing as I go. So I want this on top of the hook, so I'm going to loose wrap 4 or 5 loops on there, and then I'm going to snug it down. I'm up toward the eye of the hook. I'm going to bend that back over the tag. I'm going to bend it back over, and because I want the red to be showing quite a bit up by the head. I'm going to have to undo that because I didn't have enough wraps, and I started trying to stretch it a little bit. I guess I got ahead of myself. I don't think it's real critical where I get it all placed, but I do see the tinsel in there. I do have the red, and I am rolling that up to the top, so that's on the top side of the hook. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my vise over. As I mentioned a while ago, I'm going to put a half hitch on there because I don't want this coming loose. As I mentioned a while ago, if you would subscribe, share it with your friends, encourage them to subscribe. If you do, it will encourage me to make more videos for your enjoyment. So I took my vise and turned it over because I'm going to work on the underside of the hook for the rest of the jig, for the other half of it. So, whoops, lost it. Got to tighten it up. Maybe one day I'll invest in a vise that has the swivel ability. This one does not. Okay, I want to take and put some of that yarn on one side, some of the red on the other side. That way it'll show up inside and outside of the jig, as I said before. Now if I can find my tinsel, that pinkish colored tinsel, I'm going to try to pick it up and put 2 or 3 strands. To me, it's not critical where it lays. It could all go together, but the way I've got it, it's going to kind of be in different places. Now, I'd like for this all to lay straight, but it's not. But my thinking is, by the time I get it in the water and it gets absorbed, and gets wet, that's going to cause it to straighten out somewhat. And if it doesn't, maybe it'll look like a shad swimming. So I'll wrap that up and bring that tag back, cover it down so it shows a little bit of that coloring in the body. Okay, now I like that. So I'm going to put another half hitch on it that holds the bottom and the top. And now we're going to take the vise and I'm going to roll it back over so it's back on top like it was. Take and spin it around here where I can work on it. I'm not a southpaw, so I have to get it in the right position. I'm going to pull it out just to see how it lays before I put the eyes on there. Okay, as you can see, it's kind of messy looking. I want it to lay like that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap all the way back to the bend of the hook, and then that will cause it to lay a little bit more like that, with the head and the eyes will be up here. Let's see how this works. I should have cut my embroidery thread, so I did not have those bends. It has the bends in the loop, and that's why those tags are hanging down. But what I'll do is I will cut them, cut it short. It won't be as long as I was expecting. That's okay. I can always change that later. So as I said, I'm going to bring that thread back down to the bend of the hook, and yeah, that's holding it more straight. Now, this isn't working the same as it would if I was using hair, elk hair, deer hair, or calf hair as my body, and having part of it on the bottom and part of it on the top. This wants to move around on its own. It doesn't stay in position like hair does. So I've already cut the beads for the eyes. We'll put them in place. We'll see if we can get him looking where we want to be. Look like a scared shad, thinking that big old slab is fixing to devour him. Make that shad happy, thinking, man, he's already seen what's coming. I'd started doing something the other day. I started raising, I've got two little garden ponds in my backyard. One of them looks kind of like a bathtub. The other one is a little bigger. They're about 6 foot long, 5 or 6 foot long. One of them's about 2 foot deep. One of them's about 3 or 4 foot deep. Well, I started going to try to have a place to keep my minnows, but I was able to come up with a couple of dozen red horse minnows. Well, about 4 days ago, I was out there, no, I guess it's 2 days ago, I was out there looking, and you know what? Those red horse minnows had spawned, and I've got a little fry in there, and I'm hoping that they don't get devoured by the parents. There was probably a couple of hundred of them in there from the way it looked, but I may have to go build a little frame or put some kind of a container with holes in it that the big ones can't get in, so maybe those little ones could go in there and hide, stay away from mom and dad and all the kin folks, and not get devoured. So I've been trying to feed them aquarium food to keep up the big ones happy and fat and ready to spawn again, so maybe they'll leave the babies alone. You know, when you got a pond like that in your yard, it does attract mosquitoes, and I'll tell you what, putting those minnows in there has helped on that. So now I'm putting my whip on here. I'm going to whip a couple of 5 loop knots on there just to secure it. But after I do that, I'm still not through, because I'm going to put head cement on there to keep the body from rolling around the hook. This one wants to roll. It won't be a perfect catch-all or stop it all permanently, because I'm thinking as I catch fish, the eyes and the body and all is kind of going to roll around the hook. That's all right, as long as they still see it as a shad that they want to eat. That'll be a good thing. So I'll take my this is deep penetrating head cement. I've had it for several years, and thank goodness it's still liquid. It still works. So I'm going to just take my little needle. I'm going to drop that on there around the eyes. I did this to the other one. Now, because the body is that nylon fiber, it's not fraying out, so I'm going to put it all the way around the hook just to hold that. The lead wire is what's rolling on the hook. I think on the next one, I thought about this a while ago, and I didn't do it, so I want to try it one more time. I think if I had core wrapped the hook with thread and then put the wire on it, and maybe as I put the wire on it, start wrapping it back and forth, and then wrap it some more, and then wrap some thread and mix it, it might have made a difference as far as not rolling. Well, that's making a difference. That's kind of that is fairly snug now. So as you can see, the red tags are not real pretty, but I'm going to leave them like that because I can always cut them when I'm out fishing. But I'm thinking that when it gets wet, it'll straighten out. In fact, I can dry like that. But I'm going to take that red and I'm going to cut it so that it's not out past the white body. Just going to cut a little bit of that off, just so that things are There. Now I'm going to cut that tinsel off because I don't need a whole lot of tinsel way back there. I just want that to get their attention. So got the head cement on me. I got to be careful. I'll make a mess here. Maybe I'll take what's on my fingers, the head cement, and I will just pull it down that. Let's try that. I'm going to pull it down that body and just kind of. You know what? Maybe I didn't do that quick enough. That, I got a little more on my needle here, so let me get that off on my fingers while it's still tacky. And if I pull that down and kind of tacky that red and the white and the glitter together, now that looks more, that could look more like a minnow or something that a fish might bite because it's kind of flowing straight. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. If you're interested and would like some of those, I might be persuaded to make some, and we'll see how that goes. I hope you have a blessed rest of your day, a great week. And again, God bless each and every one of you. Spend time with your family and enjoy what the Lord has blessed you with. See you on the next video. Have a blessed day.